5 lights, and away we go. I think everybody got a decent start there.
That's an insane start from Koushik. Exactly what he would have wanted. Oh, RB Ferraro, he just sneaked onto the inside and he has to P2.
Salvage some points all the way down.
Eccentric sending down the inside on Oxygen, and Oxygen is coming back alongside. Putting his wheels, and he's side by side going around the outside. And I think he's got the move done. Yes, he has got the move. Oh, still there side by side. But it's got the inside line. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 6 of IRC Tier 2021 stream. And this is me, Deepak Raj, is going to be a streamer today, and joined by me is Simply. How are you doing, Simply?
I'm doing absolutely fine. How are you doing, Deepak?
Yep, doing really great. And yeah, we do have the got information. The lobby is almost ready, so why not let's go to the track video, see where we're racing today, and followed by a hot lap.
Yep, sure. Let's get started really quickly here. Of course, back at Monza with 5.7 kilometer long circuit, 11 turns, 2 DRS zones. I believe it is. Yep, 2 DRS zones. Very, very fast track. There's going to be very tricky sections such as turn 1, especially at lap 1, that we'll have to watch out for.
Alright then, and welcome everyone to a lap of Monza, also known as the Temple Speed, and rightfully so as you're hurtling down the main straight at 340 k's. Watch out for the DRS board on the left hand side to activate it. Now, braking just before the 100-meter board, you want to be keeping the minimum speed high and getting a better exit, but make sure you don't get too adventurous on those curves as they will unsettle your car. In fact, don't touch them at all. Now hug the inside of Curb de Grande to minimize the distance travel to the next braking zone. Now preparing for the Della Roja chicane, you want to brake just at the 100-meter board again, avoiding both these curves as they will unsettle your car. Short shifting on exit to get the better traction. So the first Lesmo, flick the car in, make sure your minimum speed is high as well. Second one, same approach, but you want to focus on the exit as well as is a straight proceeding it. Now watch out for the DRS board again to activate it for the extra Ks. Brake bias down to 50 here because you will need to flick the car in, braking just at the 100-meter board, flicking the car in using all the curbs on both sides of this Scotty chicane. Make sure you don't get too adventurous on them as they will unsettle your car, especially on heavier race fuel loads. Now preparing for Parabolica, you want to watch out for the 50-meter board on the left-hand side. Flick the car in, make sure you get a great exit, hug the inside to minimize your distance travel to the line, and that completes a lap of this brilliant circuit.
Alright, so that was a lap of Monza, the Templar Speed. So called it because it's almost like you're gonna it's like 80% of the time you're gonna be on full throttle, which means the speeds are gonna be absolutely amazing in this track, which actually makes it one of the favorites for people to do when they're doing their regular on rank sessions and everything. And it is also famous for, or I would say rather infamous for its turn 1. So I'm pretty sure Simply you would have had some amazing experiences in turn 1.
Yeah, most of my league races, apologies, have been fairly clean, especially into turn 1, although of course that could also be because I've started always within top 6, top 7, so really nothing goes wrong there. Although people who are more further towards the back really like to jump the gun and try to take up as many positions as possible in turn 1, so that is usually where most of the chaos happens.
And that was a nice brag from you as well, saying that you always start in the top 6. Yeah. Alright, so the guys have rigged up. We are about to get through with our one-shot volley. So let's see what happens. And if we forgot to say, we're sorry for that. This is going to be a sprint race week, which means that we're going to have 2 races. So buckle up, gentlemen. It's going to be a long stream.
Yep. well, not really that much longer, but yeah, still going to be a decently fairly long one. And we can see Fuzzy Dunlop is leading into turn one, and sort of Pratt takes the lead on board with Mr. Routh in the Williams. He's just taking the first turn, just kind of in a very chill way, doesn't really want to rush it because, you know, I'd say it's the best to start either first or best to start either last at this track. And Sai Tarun's already retired in qualifying, so I mean, he has had like a slight track record of retiring a lot. I mean, of course, he doesn't mean it. It's just unintentional mistakes or just, a lot of collisions happen here or there. And, due to that, he just ends up retiring. And even AVD has retired now. So is this some sort of a tactic, do you think, Deepak, that they're doing to perhaps, avoid all of the collision that's going to happen, perhaps in turn one?
Well, sometimes that is a legitimate strategy considering how this track is known for its turn one collisions. But it could also backfire because sometimes the drivers just make sure they don't have any incidents. I've seen that kind of stuff also happen. In that case, you kind of lose out over here. But again, it's Monza. It's not very tough to overtake or whatever. You are going to be having a lot of slipstream, a lot of DRS resistance as well. So yeah, should be good. And right now, I think the pole fight looks to be a bit close. And Ink has taken pole position with a 120.8. Wow.
Yep. Good lap from Ink, although... Yeah, I mean, Karthik and Ink have always been quite close on pace throughout the season, in terms of qualifying at least. And let me just point something out over here, Deepak. Envy retired from the session. He is last. He'll be starting last in the sprint race.
So, how many laps do you think before he catches up?
I'd give it about... Either he could pull out a Max Verstappen and be there already by the end of lap 1, or he could take it in a slightly cautious way. So he does have 13 laps, so I'd go for somewhere around 5 laps before he catches up to Karthik and Ink.
Well, right, so that's our one-shot quality over. So Ink has taken pole by a 120.8. Karthik's up very closely, stacks behind in P2. Aston Martin boys running the dominant run. Dark Knight is in P3, Sauropat is in P4, Koushik is in P5, Swatik 69 P6, Interdays P7, Neon P8, Alex P9, Turbochuk P10, Vinay comes in P11, Mr. Out at P12, Mighty Owl at P13, Fuzzy Dunlop is P14, and you got a total of 5 drivers who have either disqualified or retired from session.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is still a bigger main race to go, so if anything were to happen to them in the sprint race, they can always just sit out, sprint race, try to recover as much as they possibly can, and then go again for that. And by the looks of it, sprint race is still dry, so I just hope that the main race is, dry as well, because if it does change to wet, I don't think there'll be many passes going around here.
Yeah, it could be tough considering that Parabolica is a very sensitive traction zone, and in wets it can be quite tough. And if you're going to be struggling through there, which means that the biggest overtaking is on turn 1, it's going to be kind of out of action. But again, we do know these drivers have got some good skills to overcome that. So yeah, should be interesting one to see though, for sure.
And we have someone has readied up already. I believe it was slightly before time, but that's fine. And yep, so Vinay has left the session, unfortunately. That could bug out the lobby here, and we could be stuck forever on the grid, unfortunately. Let's see if... Hopefully it does not bug out.
I really don't think it's something like that. It happens only when the host is not in the session. So I think we should be good. We should be good for the start.
And it's going to get started with the formation lap. For now, everything looks fine. Karthik has a slightly slowed getaway, at least on the start. But yeah, Vinay's come back, although he won't be able to take control of his car before he lines up onto the grid. So AI could add a lot more wear than he realistically wanted to be on his tires during the formation lap. So perhaps that would give him like a massive disadvantage.
Yeah, that is something that is very unavoidable in this. The AI just does some very erratic actions, something that he might not even do. And you see Koushik is in E5. I definitely expected him to be much more higher, but still, I mean, it was a very tight qualifying grid, so we should still not count this guy out. I remember it was one of the races, I think it was Silverstone, or I don't know which track it was. He put out an absolutely commanding lead, only for it to be nullified by a safety car, and his races went down the bin. So yeah, I really hope luck stands by his way this time around.
I remember it was Japan. He had a
Oh,
very
yeah.
good start to his race, and then, yeah, as you said, it just didn't work out at the end for him, and then because of that, he just got frustrated and retired in the pits. Although I think, I mean, of course, Koushik has a lot more race pace, so compared to his qualifying pace, anyways. So I think perhaps into turn one, let's just hope he keeps it clean, because that could also mean he gets frustrated and retires from this. Hopefully not. But yeah, I mean, there's only 30 laps, so realistically, not much you can do here. Right, so drivers are just lining up, coming up to the grid now. Line up, and we can see Winner's AI just going fairly quicker than realistically Winner would have wanted. So he's gonna have a lot more wear than the other guys. But yeah, let's see if that does hinder him in any way or not.
So we got
now
one
we
taker
can
for the
see.
alternate strategy, which is Sai Tarun. I do remember he was able to make work of the medium of the alternate strategy in one of the races earlier. So he would really be hoping for something like that, but it all relies on the turn one. He needs to get through clean.
Yep, and by the looks of it, all drivers have lined up. So Deepak, why don't you take us through the start?
Sure. We got 5 lights, and we already got a jump through. Alex has jumped the start, so has Neon. The lights are out, and oh, that's a really bad start from Ink. The Alpines are already swarming him, but I think they were just tripping over each other. Now Koushik has gotten to P2. What an absolute start from him. Then we got an Alpine on the inside of the Aston Martin. And oh, we got a spinning Alpine on the back. I think that was Dark Knight. The bad luck for the Dark Knight just continues on. And we do see Koushik has already gone up to P3. And Alex, of course, he's got a DT to serve. So he is out of the equation for now. But yeah, what was that jump start? That was too early. And we see Ink is right now fighting with Sauropath. He's going down the inside in Del Rosia, and he's sending it, and he's made it stop. It's a very tough corner considering the course, but he did make it stick. And we see Mighty Owl is very close. And that's too much on the grass on the inside. That's really not going to be favorable for him. Wow.
Yup, ABD has retired as well. I believe he retired on the main street itself, and you can see Kumar has now lost a position to Neon. So both the Ferraris got a jump start. There's a bit of a pack in the back over here. We can see it is Sai Tarun who just lets NV by because he knows he's clearly slower because he is on the mediums. So we'll have to see how it works out for Sai. Although ABD retired before even making it to turn one. So he'll be very, very disappointed because he hasn't really shown much, recovery pace as we could perhaps call it. And Deadshot has no wing, so there was some chaos in the back that we have missed. Alex has gone in to serve his drive-through, and we can see that Envy, I believe it is, gets the fastest lap of the race so far. You can see Koushik's already hunting down Karthik Sab, and this could well turn out in the hands of Koushik.
Mighty Owl has missed the corner, went too deep on the braking zone, which means that he's going to lose time. And Turbochoke is just gaining that little bit more on him.
Yep, and we can see a lot of drivers have pit starting from Vinay, and it's going up all the way up into, I believe it was Alex as well. So a lot of drivers, but of course, both the Ferraris had to serve their drive-through, and the others had damage, so they have pit for new tires, and they're still not out of the pits. So yeah, it just shows how long the pit is, how much time you can lose. So you really have to nail your strategy here.
It was absolutely disaster for both the Ferraris. I mean, I don't know what happened there, but both of them jumped the start way too early. Like, I was actually a bit confused at the point. Maybe there was something wrong with lobby or whatever, but we see a move by Saurabh, but that was almost going to end up in disaster, but somehow both of them survived. They go through, and now Satvik is on the attack behind Saurabh. It's interesting.
Yep, Satvik is friends with Sai Tarun. They're both school buddies, is what I believe. It's what I know, so I believe Sai Tarun will definitely want to challenge his friend Satvik over here for track position. Although we can see Koushik now sets the fastest lap of the race, and he's really hunting down Karthik Sab over here. And he's just fighting in a lot every lap. So perhaps do you think that Koushik could eventually win this race and, pole for the main race?
I mean, Monza is one of Koushik's strongest tracks. If you remember one of the few seasons earlier, he had an absolutely dominant start from P3 or P4, I remember, and he led every lap from then on. So Yeah, he's definitely one of the contenders for the win of the race today.
Yep, definitely. As you said, Kaushik's strongest track, one of the strongest tracks, is Monza, and I do remember what you're talking about. Those were the golden days, and of Kaushik, who used to race quite regularly. Unfortunately, of course, life catches on, and then ensures that you cannot enjoy doing what you're doing. I mean, Corona helped with that, but then going back to what we have on track, we can see in the days is slightly catching up to Dark Knight right now. Dark Knight fell out of Turbochuk's DRS. There was a bit of yellow flag somewhere in sector 1. That does look for it, does not go for the move on Dark Knight, however, and we can see Kaushik's pulled in a lot already.
Yep, I think it could be an easy DRS overtake, but let's see how much fight Karthik is going to put up.
Yep, and not to forget, Ink is just there as well, so if any collision happens between the both of them, he can guess what's all the by the looks of it. It won't happen because Kaushik is easily past starting lap 4 into turn 1. Karthik can we have a quick look at Karthik's ERS, please? Yeah, so they're about the same percentage in ERS, so it just comes down to if Karthik can stay with Koushik and then eventually plan out the strategy. And we can see in the days going off slightly wide and into turn 1 exit, and now that's just gonna help Sai Tarun, Fuzzy turn up the Saradas, as well as Alex to catch up. And we can see Kumar, who's now in the mediums, he had to pit. He just understays off a lot. He does not have damage, so I wonder why he understayed off over that. Perhaps the dirty air was too much for him to handle.
I really don't know. I thought after seeing the understeer, I thought for sure there was having a damaged car or something, but definitely that was not the case.
Yeah, so that was kind of it. Perhaps, I mean, the outwash from the dirty air is quite high over there, so that could be the reason. Unfortunately, he could not make a move on Vinay. And however, coming back, we can see that Alex is now trying to make a move on Mr. Rath after getting the drive-through in lap 1. Most of the drives got away fairly clean, but it's just unfortunate that it could not go the way it went. And again, Koushik sets another fastest lap. Now that even he's ahead, does not have the DRS or the slipstream from anyone. Alex is closing in. The Willie send a dive bomb? No, he does not. He's the much better of it, and he sticks behind. Kumar is the first person to get 3-second time penalties here at Monza. And we can see Dark Knight is closing in a lot, although I believe Turbochuk has now caught up to Mighty Owl's DRS as well. He will be under a lot of pressure over here, so Turbochuk will have to use up as much ERS as he can. Look at that, he just gets a much better exit than Dark Knight.
Yeah. Oh, he is kind of down on battery, but he might want to watch his battery usage. There's still a long way to go. So that's going to be an important aspect of the race.
Yep, at a track where it is very power hungry, you will have to have that battery percentage to make sure you can deploy as much as you want, while of course being in a comfortable range to do so. And by the looks of it, Turbochuk is running out of that comfortable range. He's very low on his ERS comparatively to Dark Knight. Dark Knight doesn't even have to use much of his. He is closing it out, but he will not make a move here. It's just not possible to go 2 into 1 over here, which is Ascari. Although Turbochuk has a slightly poor mid corner over there, and that just helps Dark Knight to catch up even more.
And the lead pair, Koushik, has already gotten a second gap. I think this lap Karthik might have the DRS, but next lap he ain't having the DRS for sure.
And you can see now sort of pattern. Ink has made a mistake somewhere.
I think he has gone into the pits. Yep, he is in the pits. He is in the pits.
But I wonder why can't we see that he went into the pits? I thought he made a mistake. Inter Days gets 5 seconds speeding in the pit lane, and we can see Dark Mighty Ow just blocking of Turbochuk as well as Dark Knight, and Sai Tarun also gets 5 seconds for collision with
pit lane, I
Inter
guess.
Days. Yeah, that could definitely be. He tried to do Sebastian Vettel perhaps, and it did not work out for him. He might as well have damage for it. And here we can see Turbochuk is closing it out to Mighty Owl, so Mighty Owl will have to use whatever he has to defend off from Turbochuk. And although he does make a mistake on the exit, goes up wide, Turbochuk goes past. Will Dark Knight go past? No, but here comes Mighty Owl. They're still going side by side. Mighty Owl is not ready to give up this position at all. Although by the looks of Turbochuk is ahead. Now Mighty Owl is under pressure from Dark Knight.
Oh, Turbochuk has made a mistake.
Turbochuk now makes a mistake, and he's lost a lot more positions. Dark Knight can definitely get faster. Now they're going side by side, and Dark Knight is ahead unless Mighty Owl no calls of Mighty Owl, and that was very interesting couple of set of corners over there.
I mean, I think because of the bad camera angles that I chose to pick, I think we couldn't see what happened to Turbochick, but looks like he went too much on the curb and lost traction or something. But yeah, that definitely put him down. He was looking to be having the upper hand there, but he just went from the attacker to the attack.
Yep, unfortunate for Turbochick, and we can now see Satvik is up into P3, and he's doing fairly well, and I believe Saurav Pat has pit as well. Yeah, I
The
wonder
pit
why is it
indicator,
bug?
but yeah.
Yeah, perhaps Codemasters are not willing to show it to us today, but we still figure it out unless, of course, we see yellow flags in, someone's probably spun, but otherwise they're in the pits. And yeah, Turbochick will definitely be, let's say, disheartened by it because he was doing fairly well defending off from Dark Knight as well as trying to attack Mighty Owl, and now he's just lost 2 positions because of that. And we can see he's just going in deep into the corners. He's getting very, very frustrated here.
Yep. Also, I think his tires might also might have had enough. I think it might be time for him to change up the tires. You see another yellow
Yep,
flag
and Mr.
behind.
Rout has retired.
Mr. Rout has retired.
And safety car. So either this is going to work out. Yep, I mean, either this could really work out well for Ink. Ooh, that's a bad crash. I mean, that corner exit is fairly tricky to get right, but yeah, I guess he just couldn't get it down. I think he was too eager to get on power, and then that just caused him to spin over there. Yep, and perhaps he just had a bit of grass touching because the bollard on the left was taken out, the 150-meter bollard, so that's just unfortunate for him. And we can see that Koushik's pit, of course, Karthik has pit. Koushik is, of course, ahead of Karthik in the pits. Satvik has now pit Dark Knight as well. Mighty Owl gets 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. And by the looks of it, Deepak, I don't think it has worked out well for him because he's nowhere close to the top 2.
Yep, he might. Oh, we have to have a penalty collision after the Fuzzy Dunlop. No, with the 5-second collision with Alex. Yeah, Alex just can't seem to catch a break in races. I really don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, and I take what I said back because Ink has somehow managed to pass Saurav Pat as well as Satvik.
Yeah, well, they were in the pit lane, and it just takes a fair amount of time. So, yeah, it's a surprise. And considering the lap difference, it's not a lot of difference. Actually, he's just having 1 lap older tires, which, I mean, although it's gonna have an impact, I don't think it's gonna be a lot of impact enough to, make him be very slow or something like that. Still gonna be working up pretty good for them.
Yeah, but I mean, we could say just 1 lap old tires, and realistically, it is about 3% tire wear per lap over here, even on the mediums. So, I mean, that 3% really shouldn't mean much. But although I'm sort of skeptical about it because the other drivers around him, like, Karthik sub Koushik ahead of him, and the bunch of drivers behind him, they're all on fresh rubber, and that tire is not going to wear out more than 2% a lap because of the safety car. So if anything, Ink is at a sort of a disadvantage here.
And behind we do have Envy with a soft tire. So yeah, this should be interesting.
Yep, and I think Envy did start with the soft tire. No, can we look at the stops? Apologies, it does not matter looking at the stops. We'll have to look at.
He has done 2 stops, so yeah, he has gone on to medium stint and has come back.
Okay, then that's a very clever strategy from Envy. That could really help him out because the drivers ahead are all on mediums. Although that would mean he will have to not go full throttle everywhere and push through corners and just take a bit of a chill pill and save his tires because the softs do wear out fairly a lot through these long left-handers, right-handers like we are at Parabolica right now. It really puts that pressure onto the tires. So perhaps, Deepak, do you think that someone could be running irregular pressures to perhaps make the left-handed tires wear out less?
That is always an option, but it depends. Some people, they might not do that. It's quite it's subjective to people and how they want to run their cars.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, it does give sort of like an unnatural feeling because of those very uneven pressures, those odd pressures, I guess you could also call them. So that does make sense, and we can see Koushik
Safety car has still not picked up the leader. I don't know what's going on.
Yep, let's just hope that Michael Massey is not the one in the race control center. Although in 2021 Michael Massey was in there, so perhaps it could be because of Massey. But yeah, it is kind of weird because I'm pretty sure that they would have come out of the pits right behind the safety car, because the safety car comes out of the pits immediately as soon as the message comes up. That is slightly weird, but I guess it's not really much. I mean, we'll have to see how that goes for all of them.
And I wonder how much impact will this have on the number of safety car laps, because I mean, I don't sorry for that. I don't know how it's done in this one, but we know that safety car will be maximum for 3 laps or whatever. But in this case, the safety car has not picked up the leader. I think it might pick it up now. Yes, it is picking up the leader now. So the bunching of the pack was a bit delayed. So let's see.
Yep, so from what I know, the 3-lap counter only starts when it picks up the leader. So Koushik has not picked up, so we're gonna have well, we're on lap 10 already, so it's not gonna go out for those many laps. I believe it's just gonna go in this lap. And the safety car is now having a bit of desync, so Burnt Mylander needs to sort out his Wi-Fi instead of our drivers. But yeah, that was really weird. And since we're on lap 10 already, I think the safety car will go in this lap for us to have 2 laps of racing and not 1, unlike we saw in Abu Dhabi.
Yep, that should be the case, because we do know this game does not end under safety car, whatever it is. So yeah, let's see. I think probably this lap or maybe the next lap, I guess it would be in.
Yep, I think it'll definitely be in this lap, although no signs of it so far. I doubt it'll stay out for another lap. Oh, no. And the safety car's desync again, and safety car is in this lap, and I believe Koushik is lucky to not have this wing broken because the safety car manages to post through him, not hit him. So yeah, he'll be kind of happy because of that. But yeah, that was really weird. And now we can see, of course, the drivers all weaving to get tire temperatures, and we do not have telemetry running for Koushik. He has not enabled it, so that will be a warning for him. Although he is a reserve, so I don't think it matters much to him anyways, because he races rarely. But yeah, and let's look. He's coming through Parabolica right now. He is still not gone, still bunching up the pack, and we can see Karthik Sub trying to do a Max Verstappen. And
now he's gone, and behind it's like punched up everyone in the behind. It's a very big train in the back.
Yep, and the Max Verstappen tactic has somewhat worked out, although Koushik is defending off the inside, and we can see Karthik trying to send one around the outside. He has the inside over here, although Koushik does defend off fairly well. And now Ink is right on the back of Karthik Sub over here right now, and we can see sort of Pat is making a move on Ink as well, and we can see Dark Knight is having a slight wheel banging with Mighty Owl, although he did pass him earlier. And we can see Mighty Owl is now having wheel banging with Envy as well, although Envy is past him right now. And we can see Dark Knight, he will be trying to hunt down Satvik as quickly as possible, and we can see there's yellow flags in sector 2. Not sure who that is. That could be Vinay, although I'm not sure. We'll have to see. That was a pretty decent, I'd say, safety car restart for Koushik.
Yep, it was. I mean, he did caught out Karthik a little, but Karthik was just right on his back. Although I don't think that Verstappen tactic is still allowed, but this is 2021, so yes, we can see. And we see Dark Knight is making up another move on Satvik, who has had a very bad exit to Ascari. And I think Satvik is using his battery to stay ahead just a little bit, but yeah, that's enough to block off Dark Knight for now.
Yeah, Satvik blocked off the inside of that corner as well, and now Envy is going to be making a move on Dark Knight. Dark Knight used up all of his ERS stack lap, all of his deployment. Here comes Envy. They're going somewhat side by side. We could call it side by side. They're going side by side properly now. And we can see Dark Knight does get blocked off by Karthik Sub, sorry. And we can see, Satvik, that is, my bad, my apologies. And we can see that Dark Knight is still, he is past Mighty Owl. And Envy has passed Dark Knight as well. So now Envy is trying to hunt down Satvik, and he will have to try and get past Satvik to catch up to Ink, Karthik Sub, and so on and so forth. Although we can see quite a lot of battles happening in the back over here. Alex is now trying to make a move on Fuzzy Dunlop because he did have the drive-through initially in the race in the lap 1 because of jumping the start. We can see Envy is right on the back of Satvik. He's looking down the inside. Will he make a move? No, thinks the better of it.
And top 3 have already broken out of DRS range, so none of them in the top 3 are having DRS. So Sauropath is the first carriage. And we see a car that's going wide. I think that was Mighty Owl. I think that was Mighty Owl,
Yep,
yes.
that was Mighty Owl.
I think he did well enough just not to put it on the wall, but that was a very, very sketchy moment.
Yeah, he just went off so wide, and I think if it was the 22 cars, would have definitely gotten beached over there. But luckily it's not, and we can see Envy is. I'm going to guess he's going to comfortably make a move on Satvik, although Satvik is still trying to fight for it, and we has the inside, and it sends it down the inside and makes the move done.
That was a fairly regulation move, I would say. But yeah, with the DRS, a lot of these trains should be sorting themselves out. And Alex is sticking close to Fuzzy Dunlop. I think there might be a move incoming this lap. I mean, this corner.
B, if Alex is brave enough to send it, although it's not recommended, and he does send it down the inside of Fuzzy Dunlop. It's caught out by the curb, and yeah, that does not help him. And Alex has also now gotten a 3-second time penalty. I think he'll be looking to get Neon past him and attack Fuzzy Dunlop because Neon does not have any penalties.
Yeah, that actually makes more strategic sense. But that was just too much of curb abuse right there.
Yup, and as we know, Codemasters cannot code properly, so hence that curve was deadly for him.
And see, Fuzzy Dunlop has made the move, but he absolutely makes a hash of it. And Alex just cuts through the corner to get through, but he doesn't get ahead. Fuzzy Dunlop still stays ahead, but at what cost? So Turbachuk is going up ahead. He's on the inside line, and I think Fuzzy Dunlop will be getting this move done. That was very interesting sequence of corners right there.
Yep, that was really interesting to see Alex go completely off-wide. Although I don't think Neon will be appreciating it because Neon did get held up then. Perhaps Neon could have done better to get past him. And yeah, that was a very interesting cricket.
Oh yes, I've completely forgot about the fact that this is the final lap. My god. I am really bad.
What happened to me as well. I did not notice it was the final lap. I was like, why are the wheel banging so much?
I just noticed the gas cutting out like 20-30% and I was like, okay, what's going on right now? And then I noticed the checkered flag. My god. That's really bad for me, but it just says that how much action is going on track. We just completely lose track of the time and the number of laps. But yeah, that was an amazing race though.
Yeah, very good race. I mean, the safety car did put a couple of things to halt, and then yeah, those guys did not catch the back of the safety car for one lap longer than perhaps they would have realistically wanted. Although I guess Koushik would have wanted to go in as late as possible because then it would have helped him. And you know, Karthik did try to attack Koushik into turn 1 at the safety car restart, but it just, you know, Koushik just defended off very well, and then he pulled off that 1.5 second gap that he did have, I believe. So yeah, good race from Koushik.
Yep, a very good race, and he's going to be starting from pole for the feature race, which should be really favorable for him, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be delighted by it, and although what he's not going to be delighted by is the fact that he knows that Karthik Sab, who is in P2, is a pretty big of a fighter, so he will try to get that position as quickly as possible away from Koushik, and he's going to have a lot of challenge to defend off from Karthik Sab and Ink as well, because he's right there. So Ink will be starting right behind Koushik as well. And this is the final order. So Saurav Pat is in P4, followed by Envy, who had an absolutely amazing race. A sprint race, that is Satvik in P6, followed by Dark Knight, Turbachuk, Fuzzy Dunlop, Neon, Deadshot, Mighty All, Alex, Sai Tarun, Kumar, Vinay, Inderdes, Mr. Raut, and ABD, who did not finish.
And that is our sprint race. We'll be back shortly for our feature race. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thank you for staying tuned. The second race is about to start very shortly. The lobby is all set and the drivers are readying up. So we should be bringing the action very soon.
Yes, we saw a very interesting sprint race, and let's just hope that in the longer run as well we could see the same. And of course, we saw that if you are in our server and if you do have access to the tier channels, you could see that in the race and Sai Tarun did get slightly heated because I mean, I don't want to really comment on it because we don't know whose fault it was. But yeah, that was quite interesting to see. And yeah, unfortunate for ABD, we know for a fact that he'll be very frustrated. And if you're a regular in IRC, then you know what sort of reactions he does give to him DNFing. So that will be interesting to watch. So if you do want to know how he reacted to him DNFing before even making it to turn one, then do make sure to join our server. The link is in the description.
Yep, you definitely do not want to miss ABD's reactions. I wish we could just keep him in the commentary see just for that. Just that sometimes it could get a bit explicit, so we don't want that. But yeah, it's definitely some
Yup.
gold.
Yep, that is some very good gold that we will cherish as long as IRC does exist. And of course, IRC, let's hope that it does exist forever, and which it probably will. So that will be really interesting to see. Of course, ABD being one of our coordinators as well. So big shout out to all of the coordinators as well as the IRC team for, continuously running and making sure there's like smooth running of our league. And I believe we do have news that we'll be getting into our main 50% race shortly.
Yep, lobby is up and we will be switching over soon.
All right, so let's see. Will it be wet? Will it be dry? Will it turn into wet or will it turn into dry? By the looks of it, it is dry. And if we could get the weather telemetry up.
Just a minute, let me just get it sorted.
All right, no issues at all. And yeah, I mean, if it does turn into from a dry race to a wet race, that will mix things up a lot. And we are again facing some technical difficulties here, so do please excuse us. We're just trying to get our telemetry system up and running so that you guys could see all the info on your screens, as we are just waiting for our drivers to set up their cars, because we do have to change races and not carry on forward in the same race or the same session, at least, because the F121 game does not have feature of sprint races. So the drives will have to load in their setups yet again, and if they do have the opportunity that if they did mess up something in the sprint race, they could correct it now, set the strategy, and by the looks of it, they've already added up about 20 more seconds to go before we get started with the main race formation lap. And that will be interesting to see, of course, as well into turn one, what happens, because lap one, turn one is always, or at least most of the times, fairly chaotic. So let's see how that goes, and let's hope that everybody at least makes it through turn one, regardless of if they have damage or not. Okay, so we are getting started with our formation lap now. And we do have the weather telemetry up and running, and we can see. Okay, so the race is going to be dry, clear throughout.
Okay, so no weather twists. But yeah, Monza is not a racetrack that you require weather twists to spice up the race, as we saw in the last race. I was just completely enamored with the racing action that I completely forgot about the lap counter. And I was just going on like what's going on. It's just such a kind of a track. So yeah, it definitely is not a very bad thing, I would say.
Yep, I mean, this track is very fun to, of course, race on, and we do have a lot of things that, add to the fun of it, I guess. And okay, that's weird because it's going to cloudy weather in 5 minutes. I wonder what's happening there.
Well, so basically in the weather telemetry that I saw, the first ribbon is the race prediction. So the first ribbon I did see some clouds, so it's just cloudy, that's all.
Okay, so if it's just going to be cloudy, then I mean that does kind of help with tire wear because it does cool down track, so it is going to help these guys out a lot. And we can see Kumar, who got disconnected earlier, has joined back, and he will be taking control in
Oh, well,
formation
actually,
of.
so, I need to correct you there. We do have rain predicted in 20 minutes for the
We
session.
have rain predicted in 20 minutes. All right, okay, because that I was kind of skeptical about it because that showed up in the qualifying.
Yeah.
script and not
The
in
way
the
the
race
telemetry
script.
works is it is assumed that we'll be running the telemetry in qualifying. So you do see the qualifying session, which is the current session, and the race session, which is going to be the next session. So in this case, the telemetry assumes this is a qualifying session in the weather display at least. So yeah, it is rain in 20 minutes.
All right, so that will, if we add about 1.5 minutes per lap for these guys, that will be around somewhere around lap 20, so lap 15 to 20. That could really change things up as well, as we saw earlier in Tier-21 in USA. And the drivers are forming up on the grid. And Deepak, once again, why don't you take us through the start?
Sure, hoping this time we don't have any jump starts. And I just hope that these guys would have learned their lesson and have a much more cleaner turn one. Or they could go all the way around and just have a much more worse turn one. Let's see what's gonna happen. We do see the lights are coming on. And we've got 5 lights. And we do have a jump start already. Mighty Owl has jumped the start. And Koushik seems to have a decent getaway, but Aston Martins have completely got the absolute launch on these guys. This is fantastic start on the front.
Yep, Karthik's already sending it down the inside, pushes Koushik offside, where Koushik has to cut the corner. There's a bit of contact between Ink and Saurabh over there. Saurabh has to lose out a lot, and we can see Karthik Sub is now past Koushik because Koushik probably had to yield the position back. And they're going side by side through there, and Ink is now trying to make it 3 wide, although he thinks better, he doesn't make it 3 wide. He's looking down the inside of Koushik, apologies Karthik, and yeah, he does not make that move. Koushik is now past Karthik, and we can see Saurabh as well hanging on just about behind these guys. Ink is still putting a lot of pressure on Karthik so that Karthik put that pressure right on Koushik, although by the looks of it, Koushik is already starting to pull off.
Yep, Koushik, he was a bit vulnerable in that turn one. Karthik definitely knew that turn one is his best opportunity and he tried to make the most of it. But Koushik hung on to it and he is looking to get the run on these guys. But how much will Karthik do? But Karthik has made a mistake in the after exit and he's already lost a fair bit of time to him. And we see Ink is catching up. But I'm sure there will be some kind of team orders there because Karthik is the fastest and the leading driver here. So let's see what kind of orders or what kind of team play goes on here.
Yeah, but in my opinion, they should not put down Ink because Ink is, of course, quite quick himself. So if they realistically want to gain as many positions as well as points as they possibly can, then they will have to perhaps do some team order to let Ink by for once. And we can see Karthik looking down the inside. He is closing in a lot. And Mountshake makes a mistake and he goes off wide. That lets Karthik go through. And now will Ink be able to get past him? Ink is right on the back of Koushik over here. And we can see that he's using up all of his ERS. Karthik Sub is giving Koushik a bit of DRS, that's not helping him. Koushik has now going side by side with Karthik Sub. He does have the inside line. Karthik Sub closes it off and he does not take the move on Karthik. Koushik does not make a move on Karthik. Although we can see that's just helping Ink to catch up and that's helping Saurabh as well to catch up. Koushik goes off slightly wide. This is not going to hinder him a lot though. And we can see Koushik gets a very good exit coming out of the second. Not sure what that corner is called, but yeah, very good exit from there. Although Karthik does get a much better exit, and we can see Koushik just struggling to hang on to Karthik over here.
This seems very weird. He did the same mistake in turn one, went wide, and that brought in Karthik, and even Ink was right there, like on the Delaware chip. He did see it was almost 3 wide, and that always doesn't really end well. But somehow they avoided that. And behind the grid also, we do have a move upcoming. We have Fuzzy Dundap making his way past Satvik, but I guess he just overshot it, and Satvik is coming back at him.
Yep. Satvik is pitting. Oh, he does have slight wing damage there, so he has decided to pit. Good move from him. Although we can see Dark Knight is right behind Envy. Envy hasn't really made up any positions. The top order stayed the same, except for, of course, Karthik 7 Koushik. And we can see Dark Knight is in the mix as well. So if at this point the top 6, any of the top 6 could, and we can see Deadshot has now retired, will that bring out a safety car? That could really mess up the strategy. It's a virtual safety car for now, not a full safety car. So I don't think that's going to really mess with strategy. Although this does give them the opportunity to recoup some of their ERS and then go again.
Yep. And interestingly, Envy, I actually want to point this out. Envy was starting in top five, but he was starting with his alternate strategy. He is on the medium side now. So yeah, it should be a very interesting strategy. Considering that he's kept it clean, but he has disconnected just like every other race. He always has some kind of disconnection going on. But yeah, I hope he's back on time. But thankfully, this is a VSC, so he's not going to lose a lot of time. That's for sure.
Yeah, but his AI is sticking to the back of sort of pad, so he's not really going to lose out a lot. And of course, we can't see when the safety car, virtual safety car, is going in. So we just have to hope that the green flags come out slightly later for Envy. Of course, that's going to help Envy out. Otherwise, Dark Knight is just going to get past him, and that could potentially put Fuzzy Dunlop and Neon as well. Just pass him if he does not rejoin back in time. And we can see that Koushik has left on fair distance to Karthik Sub. That's almost a second over there. Mr. Raut gets a speeding under the VSC. He gets a drive through for that. We can see Ink was very close to Koushik into turn 1. Dark Knight is now past Envy, of course, as we expected, because Envy is disconnected. And let's just hope that Neon can catch up as well, because that's just going to help the top 5 runners as well. That's going to put them at ease, seeing that Envy isn't back. He's disconnected. And they're really not going to have a challenge for the next couple of more laps, because if Envy catches up, then it's going to be a very tough fight, although a very interesting fight for the top 3 over here. So we will have to see how that turns out for Envy, because he will be losing time. And of course, Codemasters does not wish to show us the interval time, so we just have to guess that they are within 1 second of the drivers ahead. And we can see Neon has still not caught up to Envy's AI. Although he's pulled off a fair bit of distance from Alex, and we can see where Fuzzy Dunlop is now defending off from Sai Tarun, who has started on the mediums yet again. Sai Tarun not close enough to make a move, and that corner really does not favor the controller plays. And we can see TurboChuck has made a mistake, and he's lost over 2 positions now to Kumar as well as in the race. And Koushik says the fastest lap. We can see Koushik is very close to Karthik Sub, although Saurav Pat has used DRS as well as a lot of his ERS to get past Ink, and we can see Koushik is closing in onto Karthik Sub. The Saurav Pat is also punching in the times to perhaps catch up to Koushik. We can see over here Alex is going down the inside of Fuzzy Dunlop, and we can see he's made a move round the outside. That was a very good move from him. Someone's disconnected up there. Not sure if Envy's back or not. But yeah, TurboChuck made a mistake slightly earlier, as I pointed out. He will be now trying to get past them. And we can see Sai Tarun's past Fuzzy Dunlop. Ink is just about hanging up onto Saurav Pat. Ink is losing a lot of pace here, Deepak.
Yeah, he is. He looks to be... But he is not using a lot of his ERS, so... I think that could be one of the reasons that he might be conserving or whatever going on. I don't know what his play is right now. But yeah, he can turn up the pace by the looks of it. He's just playing conservative right now.
If that is the case, then we have not seen Ink's complete potential so far. As we can see, Kumar is making up a lot of moves. Kumar is on a charge. He's passed, I believe, in this as well as Sai Tarun in a matter of about just 2 corners. So Kumar is really punching in the laps right now to try and catch up to Alex and Neon. And we can see the top 6 have already put about a 10-second gap to these guys. Here comes Koushik Tummala in the McLaren round the outside. A fairly easy move because he didn't have DRS. He had a lot of speed, pace advantage compared to Karthik, and Karthik did not have the DRS, so he's ahead. So these guys are going to be switching positions like that back and forth, although they will have to keep their ERS in mind.
Yep, that's going to be a very important aspect, because straights, you don't want to be sitting duck without the ERS. That will absolutely ruin your race. So yeah, so I think, but I think Ink is being very aggressive with his conservation. He's definitely going to have to get a move on pretty quick. But so far it seems to be good. He is hanging on to the DRS. So yeah, let's see how long this game plays out.
Yep, and it's not going to help them out if they just keep switching positions like that, because at the end, it's just going to help out Saurav Pat as well as Ink to catch up to them, and Dark Knight's not far as well. And we can see Karthik Sub is trying to make a move around the outside at Askari, and yeah, there's just not enough space for both of them to go through there, so that just means that they won't be able to go. Satvik has now spun, I believe, coming out of turn 1. We can see Koushik, is he playing the DRS game? He might be. Does not work out for him. Now that's just bunched up Surfbat as well as Ink. They're all in very close proximity over here. Karthik Sub has the DRS, I believe. Yes, he does. So Koushik is at a very big disadvantage here. And there goes the DRS. It gets turned on and Koushik defends on the inside. Karthik is trying to make a move around the outside. Koushik breaks much later. And now they almost do a Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, although still keeping it fairly clean. And here comes Surfbat as well in the fight. He's right there as well. In case some mistake happens here, Surfbat could take the lead of this race.
Yeah, this is a very interesting sequence of corners. I think we did see that Askari, it really bunched everyone up. And the way the Koushik was slowing down there, it really slowed everything down. You see the retired car of ABD. So this could once again bunch field up if there's a safety car or VC or whatever. So far, he's not having any indication of what's going on. And obviously, Vinay's got most of the stuff, but he is getting a move on, so that's all great. But yeah, so far nothing regarding a safety car or whatever.
Yup, still yellow flag in sector 3 though, so it could be possible as the leaders catch up to it because the game does like to do that sometimes. And
nope, it's cleared.
So no safety car, no VSC either, so they're going to be going ahead racing. Of course, ABD is going to be pissed, although we would love to see the clips that come out of it at the end of it, although unfortunate for ABD. He's not had a good couple of last races, and we can see Koushik is too far ahead to do that DRS game of slowing down just before the detection line to get that DRS. So now Karthik Sub is going to have that DRS, and he will try to make a move on him as well, although he's very, very low on airs compared to Koushik over here. He's a fair distance back as well. He will have to hope for a big lunge. Will he do it? Does he do it, Daniel Ricciardo? No, he does not. And we can see Dark Knight and Envy as well having a bit of a scrap just behind these guys. Kumar is again past Sai Tarun. Sai Tarun has the DRS. Kumar also has the DRS. All the softs are going to start to die now, so Sai Tarun is going to have a big pace advantage compared to the rest of these guys. And we can see Sai Tarun is ahead. Although I think Kumar does have a bit of damage on the left hand side perhaps, or no, that just looked like the end plate. That end plate really looks weird at a different angle, but yeah, so yes, Saitron's past. The mediums are going to be kicking in right now, so Envy is going to be at a very good advantage over here as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true because it's the crossover point, and we do see the clouds have set in. So yeah, it just looked to be quite interesting for the tires. At least the mediums will be kicking in very shortly, and softs will have to go into the pits very soon. But one thing that I'm clearly stumped is Koushik seems to be running short on pace. I don't know what's going on. Karthik seems to be having the upper hand at the moment.
Yeah, because Karthik is putting a lot of pressure on Koushik, which is requiring him to use a lot of his ERS. Koushik is, very close to 10%, whereas Karthik has 30%. That's a lot of difference. Karthik is using a bit of his ERS. He has the DRS as well. He's now going down the inside, and he is clearly passed ahead of Koushik, blocks him off. And yeah, great move by Karthik over there.
Yeah, that looked really aggressive on the broadcast cam with all the darting around, but yeah, that was a really nice move considering. I think Koushik expected him to go to the left side, but he went to the right and got the inside line there.
Yep, good move from Karthik. He read Kaushik's mind right out there. And as we mentioned earlier, Deepak, that over here saving your rear is very crucial because it's a very power-hungry track. You have an almost 2 kilometer long straight, followed by another, I'd say, somewhat of a straight. Essentially, this track is basically like 11 turns and then just very long straight. So you do have to have that ERS. And because Koushik does not have much, although he has managed to recoup a decent amount, and he's back up to 40% ERS, and he is now ahead through Askari chicane. He made a move over there on Karthik. Karthik's lost about 7/10 because of that, so great move from Koushik. And yeah, we can see sort of Pat and Ink just hanging about as well right behind this yellow flags in sector 2. I believe that could be one of the Alfa Romeos. It is Kumar who made a slight mistake on the exit of Askari. It is. And yeah, so that is called slight yellow flags, no damage or anything. And we can see Envy with his clear pace advantage. He is flying past Dark Knight, and he's flown past Dark Knight. And yeah, very good move from him. And you can see Sai Tarun is now having a bit of a scrap between Neon as well. Neon and Sai Tarun both are on mediums. Sai Tarun does have the DRS. Neon does not. Sai Tarun is going to have a lot more pace advantage, about 15 kilometers per hour more, and it is clearly showing because he is comfortably past.
Yep, that was, I mean, even though both of them had the TRS, he still had the better pace. And we see Ink is much closer to Saurapat this time around, so yeah, I think Saurapat might be running out of power right now. You can see still Ink is managing to hang on to DRS, not really using his DRS a lot because his numbers have been at 90, but now he's using it. I think he's just timing it to perfection right now.
Yep, Ink is doing fairly well. He will have to nail a scud to get the DRS from Karthik as well. And yeah, I don't think he has done that. Like, he could have taken it much better, but of course we have to remember he's on controller and that corner is not controller friendly in any way. So if anything, that's going to help us sort of back here to get past Ink on the long lane straight into turn 1.
So speaking of, something else to consider, the weather, as we saw, it was like 20 minutes rain. So do you think the medium runners could go all the way up until the weather transition change and avoid a pit stop? But yeah, we'll keep that conversation later because Karthik Sub is much closer to Koushik this time around. So yeah, this lead fight is just not dying down at all. And as you said, Saurav has his lane.
Saurav Pat is defending off from Ink. Ink tried a lunge down into down 1 and it did not work out for him. Because of course Saurav Pat just defended off quite well, although Saurav Pat will be slightly disappointed because now that's just lost him a lot of time. And now they were about a second and a half behind Karthik Sab, and now they're 2 seconds behind him. So Saurav Pat's not going to have the DRS, whereas Ink will. So it is something to consider over here as well. So that could perhaps make it a much easier move for Ink as well, going through the second DRS zone, that is.
Yep, and Ink has already made the move into Ascari using the DRS over there, just like the last lap. But crucially, he hasn't still got the DRS from Karthik, so he is gonna be sitting duck on the straight. So this game of ping pong is not really gonna help anyone as it stands.
Yep, they're just switching around positions, and if anything, because they are on the softs, and they're using up a lot of their ARS, it is wearing out their tires a lot more than they realistically would have wanted to. And they'll be forced to make a pit stop, whereas someone like Envy or any of the medium runners per se don't really have to, because they can completely go to the distance, because the mediums just do last that long, as long as they have a slight bit of type preservation in there. And we can see Sai Tarun's in very big clear air, so he's about 20 seconds behind Dark Knight. So he's going to have a lot of clear air, so Sai Tarun just has to make sure that he can manage his tires, and he could get a very big jump going into the weather changes compared to every single driver ahead of him, of course, except for Envy, because Envy is also on the mediums.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But these guys need to have a bit of the tire conservation going on the medium guys. I know, yes, the medium can go along, but we don't know when the weather transition is going to come. So they might have to be a little bit conservatory on the tires. But yeah, these guys are absolutely throwing every single conservation tactic out the window, because these guys are swapping places left, right, and center.
Yep, so it could either be that the weather is coming in sooner than we expected, because it is getting very, very cloudy. It has gotten a lot more cloudy in the last 2 laps, and we can see more clouds setting in. So it could perhaps rain much sooner. Or, as you said, they've completely thrown tire preservation out of the window, and they're just trying to attack and gain as many positions as possible. As Karthik Sab, again, he's trying to make a move on Koushik. He sends it down the inside. A very good lunge from Karthik, going side by side through turn 1. And now Karthik is ahead of Koushik. And very good move from him. Very good Daniel Ricciardo from 2014 types lunge on him that he did on Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, and about 2 or 3 more other drivers. So very good move from Karthik Sab. And although, again, as we were saying earlier, that it's not going to help them out, because them swapping positions and fighting like this is just going to wear the tires out a lot more. And Envy has left the session yet again. He's been disconnected yet again. And that just puts Dark Knight in the absolute sweet spot, because he'll be easily able to catch up to them. And in 5 minutes, we're going to have rain. So that's going to be somewhere around lap 15, 16, but I'd say between 14 to 16. So that's really going to change things up, and I believe we are going to see some drama going into the pit lane. As that happens, perhaps one of the leaders could try and make a move into the pit lane, as we have seen earlier, the real F1 drivers as well as these drivers, and Envy has already joined back, although he's a fair distance back from Dark Knight. It does take a fair while to take control of the car yet again. Although we can see Koushik Tummala is already on the back of Karthik Sub without even having to use the DRS, and he's gonna pull out a fair bit of a gap over here going into turn 1 because he doesn't have the DRS, and he had a lot, and he had a very good corner. And we can see Saurav Pat is now defending off from Ink. He does go deep, goes over the curbs, and now that promotes Ink up into P3. And yeah, Saurav Pat just struggled a bit there. He had to, stay calm, stay collected over there to defend off from Ink. Although Ink very good attacking from him, and he just put Saurav Pat under pressure, and now he is past Saurav Pat.
Yeah, so Saurav Pat made that mistake in the exit of turn 1 that really put him away from the DRS train that was going on. And we see his, flagging sector 3. I think that was just a pit, nothing to worry about. So you see Alex and Vinay have gone into the pits, and Alex has gone into a set of mediums. I think that might have been the wrong timing considering the rain is going to come soon. Or maybe was it a mistake again, I don't know. But whatever it is, he has gone into the pits. And we do see some raindrops already coming down. So yeah, rain is not far away.
Yeah, so it was definitely a wrong move from Alex as well as Vinay. They're going to be losing out a lot over here, and we can see some Alfa Romeo into turn 1, not to make a mistake. I believe that is Kumar in the Alfa Romeo. And yet again, we do not have the intervals between the drivers. We're not sure if Karthik Sub does have the DRC. Match to stay within 1 second. Although we can see Koushik is finally catching up to Mighty Owl who does have who is on the hards, and he's going to get left. Mighty Owl, so that could be a slight hindrance to Koushik over here, because he does get the dirty air from the lap car as well, so perhaps he'll be shouting blue flags, get out of the way. And we can see Saurav Pat getting slightly loose on the exit out of turn 1. Dark Knight's now right on the back of Saurav Pat, so perhaps we could see some sort of team orders over here, because Saurav Pat is under 10%, is he? Can we quickly go on board and check? No, he's not. So that once the lights start flashing, that clearly means the track is wet, and we could see the track is very, very wet. So the drivers are definitely going to be jumping into the pits, get their intermediate tires going. We can already see Neon, Inderdesh, Fuzzy, Dunlop have made the move already. DRS is disabled, and now everyone will be jumping into the pits. And Kumar does not have a wing. The Alpha is sector 1 and 3. Vinay has retired from this race because he was on mediums. And there's a safety car. And this is going to help out the top 5 drivers. Actually, top 9 drivers who are yet to pit, because under the safety car, you only lose about 12 or so seconds. And, of course, unless someone decides to make a brave move into the pit entry, it's realistically nobody's going to be losing any positions here.
Yeah, I think without the safety car, Neon might have maybe got a few more positions, because right now it's almost like ice skating. These guys are struggling through corners. As they went on board, Askari, they were just literally feathering the throttle, trying to keep the car under control. So the guys who pitted for Inter, like Neon, Interdays, they might have gained a bit more if not for the safety car, but yeah, that's just the game. You can't really do much.
That is unfortunate, and Ink is going to get held up because they did decide to double stack. Saurav Pat is still ahead. Envy is on the tires as well. We'll have to see who comes out. And Saurav Pat does come out in the lead of this race.
What an interesting turn of events. But the pit lane rush definitely comes to the rescue for the Alpine boys here.
Yeah, it did not help Ink because, he was definitely going to get held up, and he had realistically no real reason to stay out. And Koushik does have Envy right behind him, although Karthik has jumped Koushik as well in the pits. So, last, I'd say about 10 or so laps, 9 to 10 or so laps that we do have remaining. I'd say about 2 or 3 more laps of that is going to be spent under the safety car. So realistically, we have about 7 to 8 laps of racing left. In the intermediates condition, realistically, Deepak, who do you perhaps think could snatch away the victory here?
It's still a very tight race up on top. We did see Karthik Sub has also put up some really good performances in the wet, and even Envy, he was absolutely untouchable in Silverstone. Silverstone race, like Karthik Sub and Envy was topping it out on the top, even in wet conditions. They were just going at each other, even though the conditions are treacherous. So these two guys are definitely there for the taking, but I would definitely not discount Koushik as well, because he is also someone who is known to have good car control skills and pace as well. So it's still anyone's game, I would say.
Yeah, I guess I'd agree with that. And we can see Satvik has now gotten into speeding under the pit lane. And yeah, I mean, it's not gone well. The main race, I mean, he had a very good sprint race, Satvik, and then his main race has just not gone well over here. I mean, he did start top 8, I think it was, and he just lost a lot of positions in the first couple of laps, and then he just struggled to recover back, and he did have a slight spin as well in the middle somewhere. So it's not gone well for Satvik, who I will remind, if for anyone who is joining it right now, is a friend of Sai Tarun. They are classmates, I believe it is. So Sai Tarun will definitely, who is a very experienced driver himself, he'll be sitting there guiding his friend Satvik, that is Satvik 69 Nice, who is in the Mercedes. How to keep calm, how to keep composure despite the mistakes he is making, because Sai Tarun is just a very calm and composed guy himself.
But he does make a lot of mistakes for a guy who's calm and composed.
I mean, I wanted to say something, but I can't say it. But yeah, I mean, in general, he's a very calm and composed guy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, we have seen him during Infraction. He's one of our photo editors, and he is a very calm guy when it comes to other stuff. But he just needs to sort out his the calm conditions under racing as well, because he just tends to do a lot of mistakes, which absolutely ruins his race. A lot of times we have seen he has a lot of potential to be a lot more better in terms of race pace and get a lot more better results, but just gone because of a few moments of mistakes, or let's say some rash decisions or whatever. So yeah, that's definitely something he's gonna have to iron it out.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, we saw what he is completely, how much potential he has in the Silverstone in the first race. I mean, he was on for top 3 there after we, quickly changed over to the dry conditions. He was on for top 3 there. And then, of course, then he made a slight mistake again. And because of that, he ended up finishing P4 because of that. But otherwise, we do know that he has a lot more potential in him. He just has to reduce his mistakes, and he could be up there fighting with, Ink, Karthik Sub, Dark Knight, Koushik Tummala, so on and so forth. So, I mean, he has done well in the wet conditions, so perhaps I could gain on that as well, because the drives ahead of him realistically only has Neon and Inder days, because he's matching pace with Ink and, the top 6 basically, at least in the wet. So, as long as I believe Sai can clear out Neon and Inder days, he's in a fairly good position to fight for the top 6 positions as well here.
He's got a 3-second penalty on his name, so he'll definitely be praying for the others around him to get penalty as well. Although since the track is intermediate conditions and your track limits might be a little bit relaxed, I don't know how it goes on in this game at least, but yeah, it's still, he's gonna be praying for some more penalties to be coming on others' names, of course, not on his.
Yeah, I mean, the track limits are not really relaxed to that extent. But yeah, I guess most drivers anyways, they know not to take the curves, and in the dry they really like taking the curves because they just have a lot more grip in them, through corners, and that is where they end up getting time penalties, warnings. And generally in the wet, the curves are killers because they are very slippery, and because no one drives over them either, because of course they are very slippery. The water just never gets away from them, and they just remain wet. And we can see in the
mistake on the safety car.
Yep, this gives me somewhat flashbacks to Australia, if you remember, Deepak, on the safety car reset, as the safety car was actually going in. APD, who unfortunately has retired from both the sprinters as well as the main race over here, we can see, he spun under the safety car as well, and he lost a lot of position. I think he retired on the safety car, so it's not as bad as retiring in the race, but yeah, safety car is going in this lap, and yes, so we will have to see yet again how it works out for them. Although Mightyar has not caught in the pack, although Saurabh will be slowing them down, and Saurabh is definitely on for a win here, Deepak.
Yeah, he needs to keep his restarts calm and collected. That way he's not backing the pack up yet. He's still being very close to the safety car. I would say he needs to back out a little, back the pack up. But let's see what kind of approach he takes for the safety car restart. So far he hasn't bunched up the pack. He's just going as business as usual.
Yup, and he is still going fairly slowly, and he's not gone yet. He's taking full advantage of the line, and this is not helping because they're right there, and he's gone now. And as we know, or as you might not know, there's not much of a slipstream effect in the wet. We can see Envy is now fighting it out with Koushik yet again. Envy is looking to make a move down the inside. They're still going side by side. Envy, by the looks of it, is ahead of Koushik. He squeezes him out. Here comes the Ink as well. Saurabh being under put a lot of pressure by Karthik Sub. He made a mistake coming out of turn 1. And Saurabh is going fairly slowly, so he did make a very big mistake coming out of turn 1. He's lost the lead to Karthik Sub. And he's being put under pressure by Koushik Tummala as well as Envy. And by the looks of it, Koushik Tummala is coming right back on Envy, and he gets spun around, unfortunately. And he will be very frustrated, and I think he is going to retire just like Japan. Although let's hope he does not do that, because he'll be able to score points anyways, because top 15 score points. And we can see Envy is looking down the inside of Saurabh. He's already lost a second and a half to Karthik Sub. Something's not going right for Saurabh at all. Maybe he has some sort of an issue. We can see Envy is now looking down the inside of Saurabh, although of course we are in the wet conditions and he's too far as well to make a move. So unfortunately Saurabh will not be able to apologies, Envy will not be able to make a move going into Ascari. They're going into Parabolica. Envy is closing in a lot, and Saurabh's car is glitching slightly, although I don't think that should matter a lot unless his car glitches a lot, and that could cause an unfortunate collision. Although by the looks of it, it's not happening. So Saurabh under a lot of pressure here. He could get his first podium of the season. It is, I believe. He is trying to defend off. He does have 7 more laps to go though to defend off from Envy. Envy, of course, very confident under the brakes, get loose, goes off wide, cuts across the corner. I think that will definitely be an illegal overtake. He will have to give the position back to Saurabh, and that is he's lost the position to Ink as well. He gets 5 seconds for cutting the corner, and we can see Neon pushes Darknet off onto the grass, and all hell is letting loose here in the wet conditions at Monza. So Envy has definitely lost the podium. So all Saurabh has to do is gather the pace back in the next 7 laps and try and attack Karthik Sub for the win. And yeah, Dark Knight will be frustrated because his teammate is on the podium, whereas he's stuck in P7 over here, unfortunately. Of course, we know Dark Knight does have a lot of pace, but to catch the drivers ahead who do have time penalties, he will have to get past them. We can see Ink is now coming back up onto Saurabh, but nope, does not make a move in Ascari. And yeah, well, what do you think went through Envy's mind trying to make that move over there, people?
I mean, watching that, I was pretty sure he's a bit too close for comfort because, as you know, he does not run ABS, and you need a fair bit of this braking distance under wet conditions. And I knew something was going to happen, and just as I predicted, the lockup happens. Saurabh broke maybe a little earlier, but of course he is well within his right to do it because it is wet conditions. You can't expect everyone to brake on the limit. And as the Ink is right now closing up on Saurabh, I think this will be a move down the inside. Yep, he lines him up on the inside, brakes earlier, lets Saurabh. So Ink is being very conservative, and I think it's actually kind of working out for him. But yeah, as he Saurabh just make a mistake on the exit, he's abusing his wheels, and I do think his ER is also a bit lower compared to Ink. So yeah, Ink's conservative game is playing well. He's going alongside Ronin on Cover Grande. Coming into Del Roja, I think he has got the position. Yep, he has got it. That's really overtaken. Now Envy is lining up Saurabh once again, and I think he's almost going to get him. He's side by side, and through Lesmo 1, the move is already done.
Yeah, but he has to make sure he does not lose out that 5 seconds. Can we have a quick look at the time penalties? So Envy has 8 seconds time penalties. So as long as Saurabh does not make a big mistake, he is comfortably there for P3. That is if he can keep Sai Tarun behind him, who is closing in a lot. And of course Saurabh has to of course make sure that, you know, he does not get a time penalty himself, because then that just puts Sai Tarun in a prime position, because he does seem to be having a lot more pace compared to Saurabh right now. And we'll have to see how that goes. And Envy, we can see already in the back of Ink. Envy has to make sure that he makes at 8-second gap distance behind to the cars behind, to pull away as much as he can, so that, you know, he loses the least amount of positions. Although you can see Ink now going down, going to the inside line, and he switches back to the outside line because Envy was just not close enough. We can see Ink, Sai Tarun is now going side by side with Saurabh. Saurabh pushes Sai Tarun off side to it. Also, Sai Tarun gets the switchback line, and Sai Tarun will be now using his ERS to get past Saurabh as quickly as possible. Another yellow flag in Sector 1, and yeah, Saurabh is using up his ERS, Sai Tarun is not, so Sai Tarun is playing it out just like Ink, doing the patient game over here. Trying to put Saurabh under pressure, make mistakes, although we can see Sai Tarun did get slightly nervous over there, hence why he did lose our position. We can see, and oh my god, Fuzzy Dunlop has collision with Alex, and Alex has lost the front wing. Fuzzy Dunlop has lost the front wing as well. And now that is a virtual safety car, and it's not been a good race for Alex or Leon as a matter of fact at all.
Yeah, Ferrari has really not been having a very good home race. It's been a very bad race for them, and yeah, it's really sad to see them wasting away the potentials like that. But I mean, I did see that when Fuzzy Dunlop was going on, the Delta was very close behind Alex. I just want to switch to the battle, and the next thing I see is him being tagged into the wall. So yeah, that would have been a very rude shock for Fuzzy Dunlop there.
Can we quickly go to the race director and see how many warnings Saurabh Pat has? I just really want to quickly check this. Saurabh Pat. No, just click on his name. I believe. Yeah. Okay, so he only has one warning. I believe we have gone green, so we can switch back to racing yet again. Oh, we're still under virtual safety car. And we can see Ink has punched up a lot. He just wants Karthik Sub to pull away as much as he can. Ink playing the team game here, which is completely legal, by the way. And this is again at the end of the day just helping Sai Tarun out. And Kumar gets a drive-through penalty as we go green over here. And a lot of drivers have drive-through. As well, 3 drivers have drive-through penalties over here. And we can see Sai Tarun is just right behind Saurabh Pat. Saurabh Pat, although, has a 3-second gap to Envy. And Envy does have 8 seconds. So Sai Tarun will be under a lot of pressure because he is not going to finish ahead of Saurabh Pat unless he gets a time penalty or makes a mistake. Although he will be wanting to finish realistically ahead of Envy because Envy does have 5 more second penalties than Sai Tarun himself. So Sai Tarun's under a lot of pressure here to make a move on Saurabh Pat and pull away as much as he can as quickly as possible.
Yep, I mean, penalties aside, it's always good to get the move on track and have the bragging rights. Yeah, I mean, he'd still be trying to do his level best to get the move done.
Yep, and we can say Koushik Tummala, despite that spin earlier, has already come up into P7. So if he puts in at least about a second and a half to the cars ahead, he could be in the mix as well for Envy's position. And we can see Sai Tarun is not charging up the move on Saurabh Pat. He could be just a bit too far back though. He does try to the late braking move. He's down the inside. Saurabh Pat does close it out and they have a bit of a wheel bang. And yeah, I mean,
that was just lack of commitment from Sai. He looked to be in 2 minds, like whether to poke or not. He just poked his nose there. Either he have backed out completely or not. But yeah, that was just testing the waters there. I could say just lack of commitment to that move.
Yep, he should have definitely gone for it. And as you said, he was in 2 minds. And although by the looks of it, he's not in 2 minds now as he's making the move on Saurabh Pat. He's cleared of Saurabh Pat already. And now Saurabh Pat is being put under pressure by his teammate Dark Knight. And predicted conditions won't really matter much because we do not have 5 laps left in this race. We only have 3. And we can see Sai Tarun has a lot of catching up to do. He has to close in more than about I'd say at least 5. And so here at least half a second to get within that time penalty range of Envy. And yeah, I mean, by the looks of it, Ink is trying to slow Envy down over here. Although it's just not working out because Envy has a lot of pace, and I think Envy will be able to make a move. Going into turn 1 on Ink. Envy is using up his ERS. Ink is as well. Ink is now defending the inside line. He's in the center of the track, but now he's on the inside line. And yeah, blocks him off perfectly, and he won't be able to make a move. At least not for this lap. And you can see Dark Knight is now past Saurabh Pat. Now the teammates are fighting in Alpine, and I think they should stop fighting because they do have to stay within 3 seconds of Sai Tarun and 8 seconds of Envy. Although what's not helping them is the fact that Koushik Tummala is right on the back of Saurabh Pat. Now Koushik Tummala is going side by side and he's ahead of Saurabh Pat. And Satvik is disqualified for ignoring drive-through penalty. that's not gone well for him at all. And we can see sort of ad has just dropped about 8 tenths already to Koushik Tummala. Koushik Tummala putting in the laps that I expected him to put in. He could definitely be under contention here for that P3.
Yep, that's definitely there. Oh, Koushik gets it. Oh my god.
Maybe not.
What is this? Just as you're saying, he has a good chance for contention, he just goes on to get 3 seconds. That's really unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, so far Dark Knight seems to be maintaining that gap. The fight between those two Alpine boys did not help. Sai Tarun was able to pull a bit more of a gap. So it's 2.4, but it is kind of hovering around the 2.5 mark. So Dark Knight will want to get a move on so that he doesn't lose track of Sai and the 3 seconds score.
According to my calculations, Dark Knight has to stay within 2 seconds of Sai Tarun to make sure that he can get that P3 as well. And yet again, by the looks of it, Envy does lock up going into turn 1, and because of that, he cannot make a move. Ink is doing an absolute defensive masterclass as Envy does get slightly loose on the exit over there. And we coming back to Koushik Tummala, who does unfortunately have 3 seconds. By the looks of it, he has lost a slight bit of pace because, yeah, I think he's just frustrated with just about 2 laps to go.
That could be the case, but I would definitely not count him out yet. But yeah, we do see Envy still stuck to the tail of Ink, and we do see every single time Ink was just keeping his car in the middle, not giving a clear way for Envy to either go on the inside or outside, just completely confusing him on the main straight. So yeah, that's a really good defensive driving from Ink that has definitely allowed Karthik Sub to just run away to this team.
Yep, and I'll tell you what, this defensive masterclass is not only helping Karthik Sub, but also Sai Tarun, because he's caught up about half a second in a matter of just about a lap and a half, and he, as I said earlier, has to stay within those 5 seconds of Envy to make sure he gets the P3 over here, because he has a lot of pace. He's pulled out a lot from Dark Knight already, about 3.5 seconds. So it's just coming down to this final lap over here. Karthik Sub undoubtedly is going to win unless he makes some mistake somewhere. Sai Tarun could be on for that P3 as well as Dark Knight. Dark Knight is under a lot of pressure from Koushik Tummala as well. And essentially Dark Knight has almost a lot to lose over here. And yeah, he's just not managing to cope up well. Although Koushik Tummala with the final lap charge putting a lot of pressure on Dark Knight, does have a slight lock of going into turn 1, although has a very good exit out of turn 1.
Ow.
Although, as I say that I am starting to curse Koushik, he does get a very bad exit because he does make a mistake. Sai Tarun hovering around that 5-second gap to Envy, and Sai Tarun has lost a lot of time. He's making a lot of mistakes. He's coming under pressure here. He knows he has to get those 3 tenths on Envy to get that P3. And yeah, he's just struggling a lot over here. And we can see Envy is just making a move, or at least trying to make a move on Ink.
Oh
and
no, that's
Ink
too
just
close.
blocks it off, and there's a bit of contact. Envy has lost his left end plate, and that could mean that Sai Tarun does get onto the podium here with us today. That could be Sai Tarun's first ever podium in the last 2 seasons, that is, it could be. And Sai Tarun will be absolutely delighted as here comes Karthik Sub round Parabolica. He goes across the line, and Karthik Sub wins the race at Monza, followed by Ink. 1-2 for Aston Martin, and that could be Sai Tarun on the podium just about here. Will it be? Will it be? That is Sai Tarun on the podium as well. Very good race from him.
Well, Dark Knight tips him to the podium there.
Dark Knight tips into the podium, so that's Dark Knight. So Sai Tarun had a bit of a Massa type of feeling where he thought he had won that podium position, but at the end of it, it did not turn out to be over there, although it was because clock was going slowly, and over here it was unfortunately him who just was going slowly, just by about a 10th over there. Sai Tarun will be absolutely disappointed in himself.
That must have been a mega third sector from Dark Knight, because there is no way he was catching up that much. Pretty sure there was a full ERS jump on the third sector there.
Oh yeah, I mean, even I thought that Dark Knight won't be on the podium, although he managed to trick us all. And even Sai Tarun by just about a 10th over there. That must have been a very good Parabolica exit, because you can't gain that much time over there. And yeah, that is the Monza race over. And of course, as we have seen, Sai Tarun drive of the day as he deserves it, definitely. And yeah, I mean, we've always seen with our Tier 21 boys, I mean, we have seen it across our leagues that interchangeable conditions do mean that we get the most fun and the most exciting races and the most interesting races as well. As we could see, it turned into wet over here, and we had at one point about 7 drivers who could have fought it out for the win. Unfortunate, of course, Envy did make a couple of mistakes, got a couple of penalties, and lost out because of that. And this is going to not work out well for him because he is in that WDC fight, and this gives a massive boost to Karthik Sub. And here is the final finishing order for our Italian Grand Prix with the Tier 21 boys. Karthik Sub wins, does not get the fastest lap though, followed by Ink. Dark Knight on the podium, followed by Sai Tarun, who's going to be very disappointed as well. Koushik Tummala makes a good recovery after that spin. Saurav Pat, Envy, Neon, Inderdes, Alex. Saurav Pat did get the fastest lap. Inderdes, Alex, Mighty Owl, Kumar, Dobachuk, Fuzzy Dunlop, Mr. Raut, Vinay, ABD, Deadshot are the ones who did not finish this race, unfortunately. But yeah, that was a very fun race that we had. And yeah, I mean, Akra is going to be absolutely delighted, as I mean, I can't stop mentioning that because I know how much Sai Tarun really wanted that podium, and then unfortunately he just did not get it, as we will now be bringing our drivers in for the podium interviews. And I'm just going to start dragging them in here. And Dark Knight is here with us. Let's quickly bring in our top 2 sitters as well. Really quickly. And our podium sitters are here with us. So Deepak, why don't you get us started off with Dark Knight?
Sure. So hello man, how was your race today? We had a very long session today with the sprint race and a feature race. So just talk us through what happened in your sprint race and the feature, of course.
Yeah, so in the sprint race, the qualifying is pretty good. It got a P3, and at that time, I think Ink had a really poor start. I was stuck behind him, and then I touched his rear tire, and then I spun out. But then after that, I was like, okay, now I have to get those points in the sprint is very important. So yeah, I managed to finish P7 there. It was it was an interesting sprint race. Then in the race, it was, I think, pretty straightforward. We just had to keep it clean out of turn 1, avoid any damage. And and then towards the end, I got to give to Sai. He drove a really good race. I think he started further back and he missed out by 10th. And I was pushing really hard just to get that podium, because I knew that at that point, I didn't know if Envy had a penalty or not. I just knew Sai had, and I was like, a P4 is in the hands. I had to push and I had to close in the 3 seconds. And that's what I did. And then Envy, I think, had a moment or something. And it was great to get the podium.
Yeah, that was really good drive from, because we completely thought, okay, there is no way you're going to get the time back, and Sai has got the podium in his hands. But the shock that we had when he got the podium was just something else. And also, I think there was a bit of a sketchy one between you and Neon through Curva Grande. Could you just talk us through what happened there?
Yeah, so I think there, like, everyone is starting to bunch up in turn 1, and then it happened after that, I think, if I'm not wrong. And then, then he had a bad exit, and then I was trying to switch back, and it didn't really quite work. But then I dumped my ERS, and I was just trying to overtake him. And I think he was trying to push me a bit wide, but I think he must have misjudged it or something. But yeah, it was a bit scary moment, because if any, like even a 1 centimeter more, and then I think I'd have been on the wall. So good that nothing happened bad, and I was able to get that good result.
So again, coming to the final lap, we did see the gap was like more than 3 seconds. So very like dumping all your ERS in the third sector, because we did see the gap was still safe for Sai. So yeah, definitely something must have happened in the third sector. Very just pushing so hard over there.
Yeah, I was pushing. Also, the thing was that Koushik was also right behind me, and he's very, very quick, obviously. And at turn 1, I had to defend from him, so I lost more time there. And then after that, I was like, I'll be smart. Instead of dumping it at sector 1, I'll just wait till sector 2, the end of sector 2, and then I'll just start dumping it from there. And then I just had to nail Askari, and that was most important, because I saw like Sai was having a couple of he had a couple of moments at Askari. He was, I think, losing traction or something, and I knew that I can capitalize on that. And then I got that perfectly nailed, and then I just dumped everything I had, and good to get the result.
That was really amazing to see. And yeah, Sai is definitely gonna be a bit heartbroken that he couldn't get the podium. He might be a bit angry with you, but it is part of the game. That was a really good race from you.
Yeah, Sai. I have to give to Sai. I mean, really great performance, and I'm sure Podium will be coming for him because he's been driving really well this season.
Yep, that's for sure. All right, so simply, do you have any more questions for Dark Knight?
Nope, you basically covered everything. Although I will like to add on. I mean, Dark Knight, no hate to you. I mean, congratulations on your podium, but I was slightly disappointed for Sai for missing out on that podium. But yeah, congratulations to you. Very good work from you, man.
Thanks, Simply.
All right, then moving on to our P2 sitter, Ink, who is in the Aston Martin. Aston Martin boys did get a 1-2 here. So, Ink, are you with
Sir.
us?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you had all in the one-shot qualifying, and the sprint race start. Talk us through what happened to the sprint race start.
Alex Joseph happened there. I think he overshot his clutch and jump started. So like when I was focusing on the fifth light, that is like five. There are 5 lights, no. So that is like right above below the mirror. So like when I was focusing there, like I saw a red car just fly by me, coming in very quick. So I thought it was a bit dangerous. So I got scared and 2 seconds I was still. So that hence the bad start. So that happened.
All right, that was unfortunate. I mean, both the Ferraris did get a jump start there for anyone who missed out on the sprint race. Both the Ferraris jumped, their starts went before the lights went out, hence they got to drive through in the sprint race. So, coming back to you, Ink, we saw an absolute like defensive masterclass from you in the main race. We saw how much you were holding back Envy and the drivers behind. We had sort of Pat in at that, and we had Koushik Tummala in at that, Envy as well. So talk us through that as well, because I mean, at one point, I think that Karthik was about 5 seconds ahead of you guys. I believe it was on the VS series start.
Yeah, like defending Envy, I think he pushed too much in the braking zones. He was behind Sarvapat, and I saw him, just take the exit route of turn 2. He was actually skidding through that whole part. His tires were all locked up and thing. So like defending was only in the braking zone. So because I was dumping all my ERS in the straights. So it is good. Like Koushik, I didn't fight much. Saurapat, we were exchanging positions because I didn't want to, lose time to the back runners. Or I think Dark Knight was the one who was behind us. So I thought, like that moment, I thought Dark Knight might come, and then both the Alpines might fight me and score much more points than us. But that is the answer for that defending thingy.
Yep, I mean, as you mentioned, the Alpine drivers, I mean, they are still very well in contention to get that WCC and snatch it away from you and Karthik Sab, although you guys getting a 1-2 this race does help a lot, don't you think?
Yes, I think we are already leading by 75 points or something, and this will also just boost into that. So we'll have to see, after the results and the standings are updated, by what margin we, lead by. So that is that. But I think they both jumped us on that safety car. I think Mightyal gave Karthik a front wing damage, and I got held up massively. Even Karthik got held up by Dark Knight, stacking behind Sauropat. So kudos to Sauropat, coming without practice and showing a dominant performance. It's like GG's to him. As well as special mention to Sai Tarun. I was so happy inside, seeing him in P4. I was trying to, not gonna lie, I was actually trying to slow down Envy, but not by much, like not like unethical or anything. I thought like let us see what happens. If he comes by like 5.2, 5.1, then I'll like break a bit earlier, etc. But in that Askari chicane, Envy like broke like very very late, like trying to follow me in the last lap, and he got a front wing damage. But still, I think Sai Tarun lost about 1 second in that last lap, trying to push. So like it's good to see drivers performing nicely like this and like improving day with every race every weekend, and I hope he gets a podium soon in this season.
Yep, I mean, you summed it up perfectly well. Those were mine and Deepak's same emotions as well. I mean, he definitely has a lot of pace.
Yeah.
But coming back to you guys, congratulations on the podium. Deepak, do you have anything for Ink?
No, I think everything is summed up pretty well. And yeah, that moment at Askari was a bit sketchy, and we were all thinking that maybe we were doing something to hold up.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
No. We don't do that here. Sorry. And I have
And
one question for you guys. 1 second. Sorry
yep.
to interrupt. Were there more collisions and crash party happening in turn 1, turn 2 in lap 1?
I think it was
Not in
fairly
turn 1 and
decent.
turn 2.
Nothing too big,
Yeah.
I would say. No major pileups or anything.
Yeah,
There was a
only
few
ABD
contacts here and there.
retired
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. So
Only
ABD,
ABD
that's
retired
on you.
before going into turn 1 in the straight race. So, that's
So
ABD,
this is
but
just a
yeah.
dig on ABD. That's it. So thank you.
Right. Yeah, no problem. Congratulations on the podium. And Deepak, why don't you take us away with the race winner?
Yep. Before that, just one thing. So, Ink, you were saying that Sai Tarun should get podiums. I think he'll get podium once you step out of it, because we are kind of getting bored of this result every single time Aston Martin 1-2. Anyway,
We're not 1-2, no, we're 2-3. Envy used to be like 1-2. I'm happy actually. It was like Silverstone flashbacks. Like same, almost same this thing, weather conditions, and Envy made mistakes. So GG.
Alright, anyway, moving past that comment, let's go on to a race winner today, Karthik Sub.
Yes,
Are you here
hello.
with us, man?
Yeah.
Alright, so that was a really good feature race from you, but it looked like you had turned up the heat quite a lot in the feature race, because in the sprint race it looked like Koushik had the measure of everyone, and we were pretty much rooting for him for a win, but you just came out of the block swinging, and it seemed like you had completely turned it up all the way to 11. So just talk us through that.
In the quali and the sprint race, I made a lot of mistakes, but I had a lot of fun battling with Koushik. It was respectful most of the time. But there were some sketchy moments where we went on the curves and, made slight taps to each other, but there's no issue with the damage or anything like that. But yeah, I made a lot of mistakes, but those 2 sessions served as like warm-up sessions for me for the race, because I think I was very happy with the performance during the race. I was able to create the gap, but there were lots of ups and downs as well. I think in the pit lane entry, I got front wing damage from Mighty Owl, because he slowed down all of a sudden, brake checked. And I got held up in the pit box as well when the Alpines came in. So I thought I lost the win there, but I'm happy with how it turned out at the end.
Yeah, there were quite a lot of safety car restarts also that you had to deal with, and everyone, you kind of aced them pretty well. So yeah, that was really good performance from you there.
Thank you.
Simply, do you have any other questions for the race winner?
I just wanted to ask one very simple question. Like, I mean, you guys are, of course, a team, and you guys are, I'd say comfortable lead in the WCC, but the pressure is still on for WDC, and it just happened to be that Envy got unlucky and made a lot of mistakes over here in Monza today. So perhaps do you think you could expect the same, because the pressure will be mounting onto you and Envy especially as we go deeper into the season to get that WDC? So perhaps do you think that Envy as well as yourself perhaps be making a lot more mistakes than you realistically should be?
Yeah, I think the person who's going to win will make the least amount of mistakes, even though Envy is a lot faster, pure pace wise. I think my goal is just to make as few mistakes as possible and keep getting podiums, P2s, P1s whenever I can, and not make any major mistakes, because I think that will help. Consistency beats intensity always. So that's my goal.
Yep, fair enough. And that's it from my side. So Deepak, take us away.
Yep, that was a really brilliant race and a nice start to the weekend, I would say, because we do got a lot more events coming up tomorrow. We've got the ACC race at 8:30. We are racing at Donington tomorrow. And Sunday we do got the FN 2022 boys coming out with Tier 2 in the afternoon and Tier 1 in the evening. And both of the races are going to be similar format sprint races. So please do tune in, and thanks for watching the stream. Do subscribe to us if you haven't. Got a lot more content coming up, and do join our Discord to join in all the fun and the action. And it's me, Deepak, signing off.